In a historic and earth-shaking decision that will reverberate through the annals of time, the president of Burkina Faso, the indomitable Captain Ibrahim Traoré, has done the utterly unthinkable. Prepare yourselves, for what you are about to witness is not just news, it is a seismic shift in the very foundations of global power. Every single European embassy in Burkina Faso shut down. Doors locked, flags pulled down, diplomats ordered to leave, their suitcases packed with the remnants of a fading era. The message, thundering across the Sahel and echoing through every corner of our continent, is crystal clear. Africa is no longer a colony. Burkina Faso will no longer bow to Europe's invisible chains. What cosmic convergence of courage and conviction led to this precise, electrifying moment? What audacious message is Captain Traoré, the young lion of Ouagadougou, sending to France, to the entire European Union, and indeed to the whole Western world? And what, my brothers and sisters, does this truly mean for the future of African independence, for the very soul of our liberated continent? Sahel and the World Story brings you the full, unvarnished story behind this monumental, this breathtaking act of sovereignty. Grab your seat, tighten your grip, because this is not merely a diplomatic incident, this is the genesis of a geopolitical earthquake, shaking the very roots of neocolonial power, a tremor that will awaken nations. Before we delve deeper into this unfolding saga, if you believe in the true voice of Africa, if you stand for sovereignty and self-determination, then smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and share this message far and wide. Let the algorithms know that the people are awake, that the truth cannot be silenced. Your engagement fuels this revolution. Now, let's make history together. This is history in the making, unfolding before our very eyes. Burkina Faso, July 2025. A presidential directive, delivered with the force of destiny, echoed through the sun-baked capital city of Ouagadougou. It was like thunder in a dry sky, a long-awaited downpour after decades of drought. Effective immediately, the decree declared, its words cutting through the humid air with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. All European embassies in Burkina Faso are to cease operations and vacate national territory. The world, caught in the grip of its own self-serving narratives, watched in utter disbelief. Germany, Spain, Italy, Belgium, nations that for too long have perpetuated what many would call a modern colonial occupation, albeit in suits and ties, each was given an official, non-negotiable 72-hour deadline to withdraw. This was no polite diplomatic warning, no veiled threat whispered behind hushed tones. This was a declaration, bold and unequivocal, of national self-determination. It was the roar of a lioness protecting her cubs, the unbreakable will of a people reclaiming their stolen dignity. France, the architect of so much of Africa's past subjugation, was singled out by the sheer force of its historical footprint. President Ibrahim Traoré made the announcement not from a sterile government office, but before a charged, ecstatic crowd at the Place de la Nation. He didn't read from a carefully crafted script, no teleprompter dictating his words. He spoke instead from the very fire within his soul, a fire that had been stoked by generations of injustice. Burkina Faso belongs to Burkinabè, he thundered, his voice resonating with the collective spirit of millions. It was no longer just about Burkina Faso, it was about Africa, the entire continent reclaiming her authentic voice. Not the watered-down, sanitized version discussed in Western conferences, but the raw, visceral, on-the-ground struggle for genuine unity, for unyielding dignity, and for the absolute control of African resources by Africans. Africa belongs to Africans. We will no longer be pawns in anyone's game. Cheers erupted, a tidal wave of jubilation that swept through the square and beyond. Flags emblazoned with the colors of a proud, awakening continent waved furiously. Across Africa, from the bustling markets of Lagos to the ancient streets of Cairo, millions felt a wave of profound pride surge through them. To truly grasp the magnitude of this audacious move, we must understand the journey that led to it. This was not an isolated act. It was the crescendo of a symphony of defiance. They had already kicked out French troops, banned the insidious French media, and, perhaps most significantly, declared independence from the CFA franc, a colonial currency still controlled by France, a financial chain binding nations to their former masters. For decades, European embassies weren't just diplomatic centers. They were the very eyes and hands of influence, the nerve centers of what some might call soft power, which was, in truth, an iron fist in a velvet glove. Even after the illusion of independence, French advisors roamed the presidential palace, their whispers shaping policy. European diplomats from behind their polished desks pulled strings, pushing policies that exclusively favored Western companies, from lucrative mining contracts that bled the land dry to agricultural exports that kept African farmers in perpetual servitude. Respect must be equal, Traoré had declared, and with this act, he made it manifest. We will not host envoys of exploitation. Burkina Faso had been under heavy French influence since colonial times, a legacy of subjugation etched deep into its very fabric. But Traoré, with the courage of a true revolutionary, said no more. Foreign Minister Delphine tried to downplay the situation, issuing bland statements to the international press, but insiders confirm France is absolutely furious. With its influence crumbling across West Africa, this bold move is yet another decisive nail in the coffin of France-Afrique.
The tremors of Burkina Faso's defiance did not merely ripple, they sent shockwaves across the globe, forcing every nation to confront a new reality. While the architects of the old world order reeled, Moscow and Beijing, ever watchful, seemed distinctly pleased. Africabay News can confirm, with absolute certainty, that Russian and Chinese embassies remained defiantly open in Ouagadougou, a stark, undeniable signal of a clear, irreversible shift in geopolitical alliances. While Western powers scrambled in a panic, their emergency consultations had expressions of deep concern ringing hollow. Washington issued a mild, almost apologetic statement urging dialogue and restraint. But make no mistake, the White House watches these events with bated breath, understanding the profound implications of this new dawn. At the very heart of Captain Traoré's audacious ideology beats the pulse of true Pan-Africanism. He aligns not just politically, but spiritually with leaders of similar unwavering resolve. Assimi Goïta of Mali, a general who dared to reclaim his nation's destiny, and Ibrahim Abdulrahmane Tiani of Niger, another beacon of sovereignty. Together, these titans of the Sahel have forged not merely a military alliance, but an economic resistance bloc, a formidable bulwark against external manipulation. Shutting down European embassies is not an end in itself, but the logical, inevitable next step toward complete, uncompromised sovereignty. Traoré's message is clear, echoing through the halls of power and the streets of every African city. Diplomacy must be mutual. He is not against diplomacy itself, he is against the insidious, one-sided diplomacy that has for too long undermined national dignity and perpetuated a system of exploitation. The French government, still reeling from the shock, called the move hostile and regrettable, their words dripping with a condescending arrogance that only further ignited the flames of African pride. Brussels, the bureaucratic heart of the EU, announced emergency consultations, their carefully constructed facade of influence crumbling. Germany and Belgium expressed deep concern, warning with thinly veiled threats that it could hurt regional stability. But the stability they speak of is the stability of their own dominance, not the genuine peace and prosperity of Africa. In the sun-drenched streets of Ouagadougou, Bobo-Dioulasso, and beyond, the mood is not one of fear, but of exhilaration. It is electric. Young people, the inheritors of this revolution, chant "Liberté, liberté, liberté." Mothers pour libations to the ancestors, thanking them for guiding this generation. Elders, their eyes gleaming with tears of joy, declared they have waited 60 years for this kind of leadership, for a true son of the soil to rise. Many carry signs, boldly proclaiming, "Down with neocolonialism, Burkina Faso is not for sale." This is more than a political maneuver. It is a spiritual revolution, a deep awakening in the very soul of a people who have endured centuries of exploitation and deception. The message reverberates in markets, churches, and mosques. Embassies of oppression, leave now. The people talk not with fear, but with an unshakable pride, their resolve hardened by history. We would rather eat cassava and be free than eat croissants and be slaves. And Captain Traoré knows with the certainty of a prophet that Burkina Faso is not alone. This bold act, this declaration of true independence, could ignite a powerful domino effect across the continent. Mali and Niger, already steadfast allies, may soon follow. Guinea and Chad are watching, their leaders feeling the immense pressure from their own awakened populaces. Even Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria, long considered bastions of Western influence, are now under immense pressure from rising Pan-African youth movements. Africibé News has received credible reports that activist groups in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire are planning mass protests demanding the immediate closure of French and European embassies in their own sovereign nations. Whether the West likes it or not, Africa is choosing her own destiny. Across the continent, a singular, powerful question is now being asked, echoing from village to metropolis. If Burkina Faso can do it, why can't we? Traoré's leadership, his unwavering commitment to sovereignty, may very well go down in history alongside the giants, Thomas Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, other African titans who dared to stand up to empire. But unlike Sankara, Traoré is backed not by a lone vision, but an entire alliance, a generation of digital Pan-Africans, and the bitter, undeniable failures of decades of Western promises. Critics, clinging to the dying embers of the old order, warn that this move is dangerous, that it could isolate Burkina Faso from aid, investment, and trade. But Traoré, the embodiment of unapologetic defiance, has already laid out a bold national strategy. Trade with neighbors and global South allies is his mantra. Building homegrown industries from the rich bounty of their land, gold, yam, limestone, and cotton, is his vision. Creating a regional bank between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger is his economic liberation plan. Expanding agricultural independence to reduce imports is his path to food security. Africibé News has received leaked documents confirming joint trade pacts being negotiated with Russia, Turkey, Brazil, and India. The message is clear, undeniable, and resonates with the power of a continent reborn. Europe is not the only game in town anymore. Burkina Faso is betting on a new world order where the South trades with the South, not under the thumb of former masters. So what are we truly witnessing here? This is not just a diplomatic move, it is a profound rejection of hypocrisy, a thunderous demand for real sovereignty, a blazing signal to the world that Africa is rising, unstoppable, and unyielding. Africibé believes this marks the official death of neocolonial diplomacy in Burkina Faso, and quite possibly in the broader Sahel region. But make no mistake, this path is not easy. Threats will come, economic warfare will escalate, Western media will demonize Traoré, painting him as a tyrant. But the people are awake, and once the people awaken, once their spirit is ignited, no empire, no force on earth can stop them. Captain Ibrahim Traoré has taken a stand that will echo across generations, a legacy etched in the very soul of Africa. Today, it is embassies that are closed. Tomorrow, it may be the entire colonial system dismantled brick by painful brick. This is Africibé News, bringing you the raw, the bold, the true African voice. If you believe in this truth, if you stand with the spirit of a liberated Africa, then like this video, share it with everyone you know, leave your comments below, and subscribe to Africibé News. Let's continue to make history together.